The first presentation will be given by Mauro Facchini, who is the head of unit for Earth observation at DG DEFIS in the European Commission. Mauro holds a PhD in mechanical engineering, but has been with the Commission already in Copernicus for 20 years. So he's really been there from the start of the Copernicus or GMES program. And he will be giving you a speech about the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service.
So, hello everyone, and it's a real pleasure to be with you for several reasons. First of all, indeed, because it's a pleasure to be with you to discuss about land management, but at the same time to see in reality people. I mean, now we start to get used, but not completely. I have to say that we see people more and more in reality, and I think it's getting more and more interesting to do that. Second point, thank you for the joke, organizing a Copernicus event in a Galileo room. But I have to say, I take it as a positive thing in a sense, and maybe some of you are aware now, all the space applications, at least in the legislation of the European Union, are included in the same piece of legislation, the space program. So navigation, Earth observation, space traffic management, communications, and so on are all included in a space regulation. So in the end, it was not a mistake, it was the right thing to do. So, as a short introduction, I would like to congratulate the European Environment Agency and the Joint Research Center of the European Commission for the great work they have been doing so far. Land management has been, with emergency management, the first service that has been put in place in Copernicus already in 2013. Where there was not a Copernicus regulation at that moment in time, but there were the so-called GMES initial operations. So already at that moment we had the chance to have the pilot part of this service that was already the heritage of many successful research projects. Indeed, it's very important in this respect, taking into account the almost 10 years of life of this service, to ensure continuity of that. Both because there are many users that are used on the information that is generated by this service, but at the same time there are also some companies that are based themselves on data that are generated by this service to do some businesses. So it's very important that there is a continuation of flow of this information for several reasons. At the same time, it's clear, I will have no slides, thank you. At the same time, it's important not to stop where we are. I think also to look into evolution. So really to see if it's possible to improve what we are doing, either with new products or by improving those that we have already. And for this, the interaction with the final users is extremely important in order to really to understand, to explain, first of all, this is what we give, and to get the feedback. Do you like it? Do you need something more, something better? So this is the reason why it's also very important to continuously improve what we are doing. And indeed, we have some ideas also for the evolution of Copernicus, from the satellites that are used in the program, but also on the way on how the data are generated and possibly distributed. We had the experience of the DIAS. Now we're moving into a new DAS that will be a bigger one, and so on. So really, to move into the future, taking into account also the evolution of technologies, and last but not least, the digital capacities that have to be included in what we do. Indeed, in what we do, also I've seen evolution on the global land. We invest more and more also in improving the resolution of what we're doing, not just the products, but also the resolution and also the timeliness. We understand that both resolution and timeliness, depending on the kind of application, are very important. For example, we understand that in some cases it's very important to see what is the land situation, not once every 3 years, but maybe once every season or something like that. And in this respect, and with resolutions that should not be in the 20 meters range, but more in the 2.5 or something like that. So in this respect, we're really making some progress, and indeed we want to progress in that respect. An evolution that we have been witnessing in the last period is that in the beginning we were pushing for the use of these capacities. More recently, we see that we are more not on the push side, but on the pull side. We have several, I have to say, colleagues from other DGs in charge of different EU legislations that are coming to us and say, now we understand what you do. Can we discuss together on how to improve the contribution on what you do to what we are doing? And we see more and more the use of Copernicus data in EU legislation, also mentioned in the new pieces of legislation. And some of them are really linked also to the land management. One of the first where some aspects were included was the LULUCF. I imagine that some of you are familiar with that. And where it's really mentioned in the discussion with the CAP, we are also discussing on how to better integrate these aspects. And quite recently, we had discussions with colleagues on soil directives or forest regulations, how now really to integrate as much as possible the data generated by Copernicus in this respect. So it's important to do that. It's important for EU legislation, and as a consequence also for the daily lives of the citizens. So in this respect, I think the interaction with all of you is very important, because from our side, yes, indeed, we are defining, implementing the program, but we are not in a bubble, living just speaking with ourselves in a small room. No, we want really to have a continued interaction with the user, with those that are really, those that were at the beginning, who told us what was needed, and now I think we still need this interaction with you as users or contributors in what we do in order to better understand how things can be done for the future. And in this respect, it would be interesting also to integrate what's happening soon. I spoke about evolution of the space component. There will be also new satellites. There will be new chances. For example, hyperspectral satellites. There will be thermal satellites and others that could be used in what we do. And maybe also the chance to generate new products that today are not possible, but in the future maybe they can be generated. So there will be also an interaction with your community in order to try to understand how to better take the best also of these new missions. I started by thanking EEA and JRC. It's probably the only service where there is a duality of delegation of the service. Indeed, it can be seen, there are some difficulties sometimes, because in the end, dealing with two different entities instead of one. But it's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity really to grasp the better of both of them. With the JRC, with a long-standing experience, particularly on the global side of the land management, and EEA having full responsibility and experience in the pan-European capacities. But I don't. What I've seen, and I struggle for that. I'm very happy is that there is no two entities. There is just one, is meaning that JRC and EEA working together. And in the last years, this relationship has got closer and closer. And now I would say, for users of global land, there should be, in their view, mostly a kind of a portal that is global land, and behind that, two organizations that are providing all this information. And this is done in a smooth way, and I've really to thank the way in which the two friends are working together with us. Indeed, the link with the users is remaining important. Both JRC and EEA are linking with most of you, with all the different communities, and also for us through the user forum or other opportunities like the workshop today are extremely important. So I will conclude, because I think the real flesh to what you discussed today is coming after me. I'm just giving the introduction to that. I wish you really a successful workshop in this respect. Again, happy to be here, and I'm sorry I will have to leave quite early, but I really made a promise. I was really happy to come here and not just to intervene online, because I think it was a chance to see you and really to show my appreciation for your job. Thank you very much.